Imposition of tariffs by the United States, particularly under the administration of Donald Trump, has been a significant threat that is fundamentally altering global trade dynamics. The US president has announced that reciprocal tariffs will be imposed on countries like India, China, and Canada, and every trading partner of the United States starting from April 2nd this year. This move is part of a broader strategy to address what Trump perceives as unfair trade practices by partners who he says are ripping America off. What will be the implications of these reciprocal tariffs for India and other countries? Listen in to this CNN News 18 exclusive with Ambassador Harsh V Shringla, who is a former Indian ambassador to the United States. How do you assess the global impact of these tariffs, and will this actually mean America first, given that many economists are saying that the tariffs will also cripple the US economy?
Well, I mean, if you look at it from the point of view of President Donald Trump, he has been elected on a plank which is essentially to protect American interests. And what he's saying is that, he wants a parity in tariffs between the United States and those who trade with the United States. Now, many countries like ourselves would say that this is born out of the WTO system, where there is a sort of a differential tariff structure created for developing countries and developed countries. And so there is a difference in the tariff structures because we need certain level of concessions as a developing country. Trump doesn't believe in that. Trump says that every country must be equal and there must be equal treatment in terms of tariffs. So that's where he's coming from. As to the impact it will have in the United States, yes, of course, there would be a sort of temporary adverse impact in the sense that he has raised tariffs on China, Mexico, Canada. These three countries account for 65% of US's total imports. And when you raise tariffs by 25 to 40% on these countries, as he has done, it would have an impact on the prices of the imports that you make from these countries, which are in retail outlets, which people are buying. And so there will be an impact on the consumer. So that's for sure. But it may be a temporary impact. That is what I think he is counting on, that because of the increased tariffs, countries will come around faster to making a deal that is more equitable from the United States' point of view.
Ambassador, should India come up with retaliatory tariffs like Canada has and China, or is there scope for India to turn these tariffs into a blessing in disguise?
You see, the agreement that was there when Prime Minister Modi visited the United States was to conclude a mutually beneficial multi-sectoral free trade agreement, at least the first tranche of that, by September this year. Both sides, have started, talking about and negotiating that particular agreement. As you know, Commerce and Industry Minister Shri Piyush Goyal is right now in Washington, D.C. with his team discussing this issue. But Trump has come out with a possible, preemptive, reciprocal tariffs as early as in April. That is what he says, and that's what he said in the joint in his address to the joint session of the U.S. Congress. If he does come out with that, I think it is incumbent on us to also, retaliate with reciprocal tariffs that he has imposed on us. We don't know what tariffs he will impose, whether they will be across the board, or whether they will be on a certain number of items on our export list, or whether he'll impose them at all. Nothing is clear. But if he does impose tariffs, I think it is incumbent on us to also impose reciprocal tariffs, but at the same time continue to negotiate our free trade agreement, and I think really come out with an outcome as soon as possible. Not even wait till September. And my own view is that this gives us an opportunity not only to restructure the entire tariff regime that we have, but also the entire economic system that makes it possible for us to be part of the global value chains, to seamlessly import and export products based on our tariff structure, and to be able to make our industry more competitive and efficient. I think this gives us a unique opportunity which we haven't had since 1991 when we undertook a structural adjustment program. And possibly to even announce, unilaterally the sort of tariff reductions that we have in mind in the different sectors that I think there is scope in which we can announced reductions.
It's interesting that you talk about the different sectors, which is why I wanted to ask you a lot of skepticism now with regards to the agricultural sectors. How will such a move impact the agro exports, given that Trump is resolved to, what he says, rescue the American farmer?
Well, the United States exports about $1.5 billion worth of agricultural items to India, but we export $25 billion worth of agricultural items. So there's a slight imbalance there. I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because the US exports other items like precision instruments, engineering goods, etc., to India. So it doesn't have to be parity on the same sectors and the same lines. But the fact of the matter is that there is, the tariff structure is also slightly different, because there is a different tariff structure on the US end, which is much lower. In our case, there are areas where we are quite competitive in tariff terms, but there are certain areas where our tariffs are quite high. Take the example of rice, for example. We are the largest exporter of rice in the world, yet we have a 70% import duty on rice. Similarly, we have a 40% import duty on wheat, 45% on soya, 50% on corn. So there are high tariffs in certain areas, and in some areas like walnuts, etc., we need to have it. Almonds, and we need to have it because you have Jammu and Kashmir and Himachal that produce these items, and
Correct.
you don't want that to be affected. So you have to have some safeguards in the system. But at the same time, wherever there is a scope to make the industry more competitive, where the impact on our farmers and their livelihoods is not significant, we have to have some give and take in order to get more, you have to give more also.